Today's video will be on the topic of screening and signaling. The reference that I have used for this note is basically the studysmart.com. Now, what is screening and what is signaling? At first, let me explain it a bit, then I will go on the topic, or then I will read the note. Then you will be able to understand better. Now, let me open a slide and explain it. So suppose we have an interviewer sitting here. In this chair, suppose we have an interviewer sitting. Okay. So this interviewer wants to take 30 candidates, and there are total 100 candidates out there, and out of these 100 candidates he has to select 30 candidates for this job. Now one by one when the candidates are coming to give interview, suppose this is the chair for them or this is the bench for them. So when they are coming to give interview one by one, now how will the interviewer actually identify that who has the potential to do the job in the company and who has not the potential to do the job in the company? That means who is a good quality candidate and who is a bad quality candidate. How to differentiate this? How will the interviewer differentiate this? So basically the interviewer will differentiate it by the process of screening. Interviewer will use an process that is called screening. What can the interviewer do in this process? Well, to be honest, the interviewer can ask questions from different fields, right? That can be a process that he can take up as screening. What else he can do for screening? Well, he can give random situations to the interviewer and sees how the interviewer the interviewer can give random situations to the candidates, and he can see that which of the candidates are responding well and capable of soaking pressure. So that candidate will be a good candidate. So by these several methods, asking questions, giving random situations, right, pressurizing the candidate, and if that can be a way also, that if the interviewer pressurizes the candidate, then that can be a way. If the candidate is not good enough, then he will not be able to absorb the pressure. If the candidate is good enough, then the no pressure will be a factor for the candidate. So by this method, asking, giving random situations, pressurizing the interviewer, by these methods the interviewer can find out who is a good candidate and who is a bad candidate. Similarly, now if I take this method is basically called screening. Similarly, now for the candidate, now there are 100 candidates and each candidate wants a job, right? So there are bad candidates as well, there are good candidates as well. Now suppose from these 100 candidates there are only 50 or 50, no, not 50, suppose there are 60 candidates which are good enough to get the job. Now there are 40 candidates which are bad, but how will these 60 good candidates will actually make themselves or appear that will actually make themselves presentable for the job? I mean, suppose an interviewer goes and candidate goes in, and that candidate is a good candidate. Now how will he tell the interviewer that I am a good candidate, take me? Directly you can't tell it, right? Directly the interviewer can't, directly the candidate can't tell the interviewer that I am a good candidate, tell me. If it is possible, then everybody will tell that. So that's why the interviewer will use, the candidate will use different signals. He will try to give the question answers asked, he will give the answers of the questions properly. He will try to show his knowledge on different aspects through his answers. He will try to reply properly. he will not be pressurized. So these signals will be given to the interviewer. The candidate will give these signals to the interviewer, and through these signals the interviewer will be able to identify that this candidate is a good candidate. So what is the method that the candidate is using here? He is using the method called signaling, and by this method the candidate is actually sending different signals to the interviewer that I am a good candidate and you can take me. These signals are being sent to the interviewer by several methods, asking, giving the answers properly, not being pressurized, trying to speak confidently, right? So these are the process of screening and signaling. Now let us read the notes. Signaling and screening are elements of information economics, an area of study that deals how to manage and exchange information in business activities. Signaling refers to action taken by an entity to indicate its type or status to another party. Well, who does the signaling? The candidate is doing the signaling, and the candidate wants here it is written that the candidate wants to indicate that I am a good candidate. So the candidate is willing to indicate his or her status, his or her type, that he is a good candidate to another party. Here the another party, as per my example, you can think it as the interviewer. Signaling is usually done by the party with more information to display its value to the less informed party. You can think easily that the interviewer doesn't know anything about the candidate, right? Except the paper sheets and results, the interviewer doesn't know about anything about the candidate. So the interviewer is a less informed party. He doesn't have any information about the candidate. But if we talk about this party, he has greater amount of information about himself. He knows that he is a good candidate or he is a bad candidate. He knows about this. So he has a better opportunity to display his value to the interviewer, that look, I am a good candidate. So he has the opportunity to display his value or her value to the candidate, to the interviewer, sorry. Now example is also given here, that job applicant emphasizing their educational achievement is a type of signaling. Screening, on the other hand, is an activity performed by less informed party. That means obviously the job interviewer, to extract necessary information from the party with more information. The job interviewer will ask different questions from different fields, will give natural situations, conditions to the candidate, so that he gets the necessary information about the party. About the party with more information means about the candidate, that whether the candidate is good or fit enough for the job or not. In other words, it's a mechanism used to differentiate between good and bad elements based on the certain descriptors. So that's screening is basically differentiating good and bad elements. So that means the good and candidate and bad candidate were being basically differentiated on the basis of the screening. Bad candidate will not get the job and good candidate will be selected in the interview and get the job. Right now, for example, employers use job interview as a screening tool. I have told about this. In the job market, signaling and screening occur simultaneously. Both are occurring simultaneously. Candidates signal their abilities and qualifications through CVs and cover letters. On the other hand, recruiters screen applicants by assessing their CVs and conducting interviews. So candidate will prepare their CV and send it to the job interviewer. In the CV, the candidate will basically write many of his qualities, educational qualities. That is basically giving the signal to the job interviewer. And within the interview also, the candidate can give different signals to the job interviewer, that look, I am a good candidate. And that type of different signals, like giving the answers properly, giving the answers confidently and in a right function. Okay, now so this is basically recruiters screen applicants. So, and the recruiters screen applicants by assessing their CVs and conducting interviews. The interviewer or the recruiter is basically assessing the qualities of the candidates by doing the interviews. Interview is the best method for identifying that whether the element or the candidate is good enough or bad enough. Okay. Now if we talk about the key concepts in signaling and screening, Then there are some few key concepts associated with signaling and screening, which help in comprehending how these mechanisms function and their role in business interaction. So at first, the first key concept is information asymmetry. Information asymmetry is basically, suppose I have a car that is a used car. Okay, so I know my car is not good enough. It has some problems. The engine is not functioning properly, and there are some problems with brake as well. Now I have the entire information about it. I have the complete information about my car. Suppose a buyer comes and wants to buy this car. Now he doesn't have this information that my engine is bad enough. My engine is not good enough, and brake is not functioning well. So one party, that is me, that is the seller, have better information or more information about the product than the other, that is the buyer who is going to buy this car. This type of disparity may happen in transaction and in negotiations. That is, suppose in car market, if you want to negotiate, then this type of transaction, this type of situations can occur. Credible signals, another key takeaway. There are signals that are difficult or expensive to fake. Like suppose I am a PhD holder, and this is very much expensive if I want to fake it. And suppose this is reliable because it is very much expensive if I want to buy this PhD degree. It will not be able to. It is very much expensive to buy this degree. So if I am showing this to anyone, if I am showing it to a job interviewer, then he will obviously rely on me that I am a good quality candidate or good quality product, right? So here, this type of things or this type of signals that are very much difficult or expensive to fake. PhD, very much difficult if you have to fake PhD degree. You have to spend almost 3 crores or 3, I don't know, probably it is 3 crores. I saw it in a report in the earlier days that one of the leaders, probably from Kerala or some other district, who actually faked his PhD degree, and he bought it from Sri Lanka for around 3 crores or sort of, I don't exactly remember the area of the point or the amount of money, but I just gave that example here. So these are the signals that are very difficult or expensive to fake and more reliable. University degrees, for example, are considered credible because they are difficult to obtain without required knowledge and resource. Separating equilibrium. This happens when parties are different types and they send different signals. That means, suppose I bought a 100 rupees headphone. Okay, and suppose leave this example. I bought an air cooler, and I bought an air cooler from 5,000 by 5,000 rupees, and my friend bought another air cooler in probably 5.2 thousand rupees. Now, or suppose if I just leave this example, I just give another new example. Suppose I want to buy an air cooler, and I went to the market. The seller actually presented me 2 air coolers. One is 5,000 and another one is 5.2 thousand. This 5,000 and 5.2 thousand, this 5.2 thousand is offering me 1 year warranty, and this is not giving me any warranty, no warranty, right? So that means obviously this seller, which is keeping the price at 5.2 thousand, is much more confident about his product. That's why he is giving 1 year warranty. So that is a way of signal. That is a way of signaling that you are giving, as you are giving the warranty, that means your product quality is good enough to be sold. So for instance, high quality products might offer warranty while low quality products will not. Now the last one is adverse selection. Well, to be honest, in the adverse selections, when there is a lack of information about the types of parties involved in the transaction, for example, when screening is not effective and high quality candidates can't be distinguished from low quality candidates. Suppose the interviewer is supposed to ask only 2 questions. what is your name, and um, where are you from. Now, in these two questions, or by these two questions, the interviewer can't assess the quality of the candidate. Or suppose there is no interview, there is only an exam that can everybody pass by just reading properly. Okay, and there is no interview, so you can't assess the quality of the candidates. So, in this type of cases, there is adverse selection, that the low quality candidates and the high quality candidates can't be distinguished. Now here it is written in the form of a chart: information asymmetry, a situation where one party has more or better information than the other, credible signals. We discussed all of this in the previous slide. So after that, let's consider a second-hand car market. In the second-hand car market, sellers have more knowledge about the car's condition, as I have told. I have given this example, while buyers have less information. Here, signaling could be the seller offering a warranty or disclosing the car's full service history. Screening, meanwhile, could be the buyer requesting an independent mechanic to inspect the car. Now, I am having a car. Now, if I want to sell this car, one buyer comes and he wants to take the car. Now, what can be the probable? Suppose my car is good, very good. Now, how can I actually signal that my car is good? How can I actually signal or give signal to the buyer that my car is very much good car? I mean, my car is good enough. You can obviously take it. How should I give this signal? So for that, I may offer a warranty that if I take my car, I will give you 1 month or 6 month or probably 1 year's warranty. Anything happens to the car in between 1 years, I will take the expenses for that. So that can be a method of signaling. For me, right? Similarly, what can be the method of screening for this person, that who is coming to take the car, or who is basically the buyer? What can be the method of screening for that person or for that buyer? Now, for that person, the method of screening can be requesting a mechanic to inspect the car. He can say that I will bring a mechanic on behalf with me, and he will inspect the car whether the conditions are proper or not. So this can be a method of screening by which the buyer can identify whether the car is good or bad. So screening method can be taking an inspection by probably a mechanic. And what is signaling? Signaling is, in this example, signaling will be giving warranty, trying to give warranty. If my car is not good enough, I will never be daring to give warranty. Or I can also give full service history of my car, that this is the report, and this is the amount of kilometer it actually went, and these are the all reports, complete kilometers covered by this car, complete service report. I can present it to the buyer so that he will trust that the car is good enough. So that can be also a signaling method. Now, distinctions between the signaling and the screening. There is a significant difference between signaling and screening. In signaling, the informed party initiates the action to convey their qualities, whilst in screening, the uninformed party takes action to elicit the information. That means, obviously, in what happens in screening. At first, let me talk about the signaling. What happens in signaling? In signaling, the person who is actually informed, right? That means, obviously, the person who is giving job interview, who is much more informed about himself, so he can give signals about his degree, about his education, about his knowledge. He can convey it in different answers of the questions that are asked by the interviewer, right? So the ball is in the court of the candidate here, more informed party. So that is basically signaling. And in the screening, the uninformed party has to take the action to extract the information from the candidate, that whether the candidate is good or bad. asking different questions, giving real life problems, giving practical problems, and pressurizing the candidate and see how the candidate actually reacts. Okay, now another crucial differentiation can be that the motivation behind this concept. Essentially in signaling, the sending party means the candidate has an incentive to misrepresent information to appear more desirable than reality. Obviously, a job candidate, suppose a job candidate who is willing to have the job, if he gets the job, he will get the salary. So he has a greater incentive, that he may say that I was very good, I was topper in the examination, or he may try to appear himself as a good candidate. Although suppose he is a bad candidate, but he may present or he may fake that I am a good candidate by saying, by avoiding questions in, or by giving answers in different ways. He may appear or try to appear to be a good candidate, but he is a bad candidate, right? So why is he appearing to be a good candidate? Because there is an incentive for him that if he get the job, he will get the salary. In screening, the receiving party bears the risk of adverse selection and wishes to avoid selecting less desirable options, and employer trying to steer the underqualified aspirants. So basically, in the screening process, the job interviewer is basically in the risk, because if the job interviewer actually selects a person who is not deserving by the method of screening, if the job interviewer actually finds a person or selects a person who is not deserving, who is a bad quality employer, who is a bad quality product, or who is a bad quality candidate, then that is a risk of adverse selection, right? And that is obviously a bad thing for the company, right? So yes is vital. We have understood the distinctions are basically complete here. Yes is vital to understand the signaling and screening are often function synchronously in real world interactions. For instance, a job interview consists of employer screening by asking questions and applicant signaling by answering those questions and queries and providing proof of their competence. That means in real world setting, the signaling and screening goes togetherly and goes simultaneously. That the job signal, the job interviewer is basically trying to screen the person, or basically is trying to screen the person, or basically taking the process of screening. And similarly, the candidate is trying to give proofs that I am a good candidate, and he is trying to prove that he is a competent candidate, he is a good candidate, he has the potential to work for the company. Now the last thing, the factors influencing the effective signaling and screening. Transparency. The ability of signal to accurately represent the sender's type is crucial for the success of any signaling strategy. So suppose I am a good candidate, I know all the answers, but if I am not being able to represent all the actions or all the answers properly to the job interviewer, then I will never get the job, and the job interviewer will think that I am a bad candidate even though I am a good candidate. So the ability of the signal to accurately represent, the sender's type, it is basically saying that if you are not being able to represent, or if you are not being able to represent your signal properly in a proper way to the interviewer or to the other party, then it will be affected. Although you are a good product, but it will appear that you are a bad product or bad candidate. Equally, a screening technique's effectiveness is significantly determined by the transparency of the process, how well the screening procedure can infer information about the screen party. Suppose if the job interviewer is asking rubbish questions, he doesn't know about how to take the screening process. He is asking rubbish questions and he hasn't picked the proper candidates. So if the questions are rubbish, if the questions are not good enough, then how can you tell that you are actually going to be taking good quality products or good quality candidates? So for getting the good quality candidates, the screening process or screening procedure should be properly in effect. Otherwise, there will be no effective signaling or no effective screening that will take place. Now, Credibility. A signal's credibility greatly affects its effectiveness. The more believable and reliable a signal is, the more likely it is to be trusted and acted upon. Suppose the interview was on 9:30 and a candidate entered the interview room at 10 o'clock, and that candidate is telling that I am very much punctual. So that is a bullish thing. I mean, their actions are speaking for them that they are not punctual, but they are trying to mislead their procedure. So basically the credibility here is very important. If the credibility is less, then they will obviously, here in this case, the interviewer will easily get the idea that the candidate is not punctual, he is not credible enough, because he has come to 10 o'clock, he has come to give the interview at 10 o'clock. Then how can he be credible? So credibility is also important for the effectiveness of signal, and this could be linked to the reputation of signaling entity and the difficulty of replicating the signal. Okay, so if you are actually saying proper words, giving proper answer, giving representing your actions confidently, you are sitting very much relaxed way, then these are actually making your words much more confident, I mean making your words much more reliable and credible, and you have lot of degrees also. So that is making your answers credible, that you are speaking the truth and you are a good quality candidate. Information accessibility. The availability and accessibility of the information can significantly impact both signaling and screening. How? Lack of available information can lead to misinformation. Suppose if I talk about an example here, suppose we have an employer, suppose you have a job interviewer, and this job interviewer is taking the interview of a person. The person hasn't mentioned anything in his CV, I mean just only his name, phone number and some basic things, not about any skills, not about any marks. So here we have a lacking of information, and this lacking of information can lead to misinformation. That means that the screening will not be properly initiated by this. Okay, and when there is lot of information there given there, and that can also, suppose there are two candidates coming and each of them are having lot of information. Now from this lot of informations, which one is to be asked, which questions to be asked to the candidate, that also becomes a difficult problem. So due to lot of informations in the CV or in the application, that can also lead to misleading, that can also mislead, and that can also affect the screening and signaling. And the last one is cost. Cost basically represents that in both signaling and screening, cost often plays a significant role. The costlier it is to provide a false signal, the more credible the signal becomes. As I have given the example, PhD degree, it is very much costly to fake it. So it becomes, if you have PhD degree, it becomes very much reliable for the interviewers that obviously you are a good candidate, because getting or acquiring a PhD is very difficult and very much hectic job. So have you you obviously you have very much knowledge and wisdom and intuition, that's why you have obtained the PhD degree. So cost also plays a significant role. If the quality that you are saying you have, or if the degree that you are showing is very much costlier to fake, if you have to fake PhD, you have to spend 3 crores, so it is very much costlier to fake. So obviously you become much more credible, and your signal becomes much more accepted and credible, and you are actually going to be selected for the company. So that is for the part of signaling and screening.